Raise a glass, let the worry slip away. Liquid lunch, we're living for today. There's Troy laughing with his gin and a grin, telling stories about where he's been. Boomer's got whiskey, he's loosening his tie, chasing dreams under a midday sky. The bartender knows us, he's mixing with flair. Every sip's a moment we're happy to share. Liquid lunch, pour it smooth, let it flow. Friends round the table where the good times grow. Raise a glass, let the worry slip away. Liquid lunch, we're living for today. The clock don't matter, we're lost in the vibe. Jazz in the air, feel the soul come alive. From martinis to bourbon, we're riding the wave. Stealing this hour, it's the freedom we crave. Sun's still shining, but we're in our zone. This bar's our shelter, our temporary home. One more round before the world calls us back. Savor the moment, keep the blues in the rack. We'll laugh and we'll toast till the afternoon fades. Memories made in these liquid escapades. Liquid lunch, pour it smooth, let it flow. Friends round the table where the good times grow. Raise a glass, let the worry slip away. Liquid lunch, we're living for today. So here's to the daylight, the drinks and the fun. Our liquid lunch, till the next one comes. With a wink and a smile, we'll be back real soon. Chasing that jazz under the high noon.
Well, excuse me. I am. Looks like the cloaking device is still engaged. Let me see if I can't get that camera set up so you can see my ugly mug. Quite literally. Bear with me. This is a real professional outfit I got running here. Let's see. Might have to readjust that a little bit. There we go. Sorry about that, folks. But there we go. I was distracted by all the preparations for a very special stream tonight. They say that the secret to success is to fake it until you make it, and it's going to become a underlying running theme throughout the rest of the day today. You'll see what I'm talking about, but I want to first start out by saying that Ruby Hoob got my attention. I know she can't always stay very long, so I didn't want to wait to thank her for her very sweet gifty. I super appreciate that. That went to user named What's Johnny Watching? I'd like to know what Johnny's drinking, but welcome to membership. What's Johnny watching? And then, Ruby, you certainly didn't have to do this again, but she drops another $5 just to say, have a fabulous day, you all. Have a fabulous day yourself. I hope you are doing well. Remember, you are always in Netter's prayer. I say Netter's prayers because I think she's got a better line to the big cat at the top of the stairs than I do. But thank you so much, Ruby Hoove. Let's say hi to the rest of you all. Geek Flag with Nate Knows was first because he probably noticed that I had the stream up last night. Like, share, subscribe, comment, become a member. And if you were going to give a super chat of $5 or more, why not gift a membership just like Ruby Hoove did and make our family grow, which is exactly what we want to see. I've got a goal to reach 200 members by the end of the year, if that is possible. And it is possible as long as you guys are supporting me. Big Al Presents says, good day, Liquid Lunchers. What Friday refreshment will Troy intend to drink tonight? Hope everyone has a great time today and wishing you a wonderful show today. Well, we will get to what I am sipping on momentarily. Let me just finish saying hi to everyone, including this beautiful woman calling me the love of her life. She is absolutely the love of mine. Netter of Netters Network, who says, like, share, subscribe, become a member, leave a comment, even gift a membership if you are feeling as generous as Ruby Hoove. Lynn Green says, had to get up early listening from bed. Sleepy Lynn. Oh, I understand. I had a difficult time getting going this morning myself. Connie Cleary says, hail to the chat. The Birdwoman of YouTube and Fluff Chick Productions. Sometimes it's hard to say. Jonathan Conroy says, hail all, smash the like button and enjoy the show. Yes, please do all of those things. I would greatly appreciate it if you did. Nate says, happy Friday, everybody. Yes, happy Friday. He has already recorded an intro spot for me for tonight's show. Looking forward to sharing that with all of you. And speaking of sharing with all of you, Corey of Wilkie's Movies and Music is here today. He was here last night on Netters Network, where we had a great chat with him. And you are going to get a chance to chat with him right after this show, because I am going to chauffeur all of you over, at least all of you that stay with me till the end, for Wilkie's Movies and Music's Friday stream, because that's what we do here after Friday's Liquid Lunch. Let's see. Oh my gosh, Ruby Hoove. Wow, that's just incredible. Ruby gifted 5 more last call memberships because Netters Network is cool as well. Here's 5 for you. Those go to Pit Snipe Husker, to Jeff B 2607, Morning Haze 1234. 1234. Okay, but I think I've heard that these numbers are randomly generated. Caveat ties, and welcome back, Sean O'Rourke. Thank you so much, Ruby Hoove. You are incredibly generous. That's six gifted memberships. Thank you so much, Ruby. That is just amazing. And Nate says, I not sick no more. Yes, that is great news. I bet you're still a little sick, but not in that way anymore. And that is a good thing. I am so glad to hear that, Nate. This is a reason to celebrate. So I'm not going to bury the lead anymore. I'm just gonna let you know what I'm sipping on tonight. I think you know when you see this stein.
Release the Kraken.
Release the Kraken!
The Kraken!
Why is the rum always gone?
It's gone because I drink it so much. But that's why I'm so thankful to you folks who buy me a drink. I think last week for my birthday, Tony from Analog Toys came in and basically bought me a handle of rum. He didn't specify, but that's what it's going to be. So I'm going to go pick up another handle of rum because I love it. I love it. But I am not going to be talking about rum again, because we have talked about rum. We've talked about the history of rum We could even get into some even deeper, darker history about rum here in the States. But instead, uh, you know, like I said, I was talking with Corey yesterday of Wilkie's Movies and Music, and he actually inspired what I think I want to talk about today. Let me share my screen and bring it up. Share screen. You can get my ugly mug twice. And entire screen. There we go. No sound. Okay. I'm going to do a little brief history of the public house. So when I started this channel, the whole idea was trying to keep alive something, kind of a tradition that was kind of started at the office that Netter and I were working at when the disease of unnamed origin hit. And we had been working in let's just say a client services position. So very, very intense, dealing with the public kind of situation. And I think anybody that's had that knows the kind of stress you deal with and so forth. And just talking with, our coworkers at lunch and on breaks and stuff like that, we were like, we really need more of this. We need more of this get together, decompress, let off steam. And someone suggested, hey, there's this City Works that's just the other side of the expressway. Let's why don't we Friday after everyone gets off, and we all got off at different times. It was going to be staggered. Whoever gets off first, go get a table for however many, and we'll just kind of rotate in and out and sit and chat, and we'll pass around finger foods and have drinks and just kind of decompress. And we would get together and we'd talk about the week and some of the customers we dealt with, even some of the bosses that we had to deal with. Sometimes the boss sitting directly across from us, because it was that kind of a thing. It wasn't antagonistic or anything like that. Well, I take that back. If the bosses were coming there, we could talk about them to their faces because we had that kind of relationship with them. If they weren't coming, we needed to talk about them. Let's just say that. So that's really what we were doing. And then, of course, there were the mass layoffs. And so I said, I don't want to really give that up. So that's kind of the general origin for Last Call on Friday nights. That's why we do it. Bunch of friends getting together at a pub to chit chat. But let's talk about the greater history of the public house, right? I think I'm going to zoom in because this is really tiny text, and I got old eyes. Let's see if it'll let me. Oh, sure it will. There we go. So this is written by Chris McClellan, and that's important because he gives his opinions at the end. I want you to know that they're coming from Chris, although he offers a sentiment that is very much in keeping with my opinions as well. So imagine, if you will, that you are a weary traveler in an unfamiliar city somewhere in the United States. You're hungry, thirsty, and tired when a familiar sign catches your eye, an Irish pub. You rush towards the door, excited for the warm, hospitable environment and anticipating cheerful conversation with locals over a perfectly poured pint of Guinness. But as you enter the establishment, your hopes and dreams are instantly dashed as you become painfully aware that this is an Irish pub only by name, and really more of a sports bar with pub clothing. You are blinded by the glare of 35 flat screen TVs all playing ESPN, Judge Judy or Dr. Phil. The walls are haphazardly covered in random objects, and the jukebox is blaring the most recent pop selection. A few shamrocks are worked into the decor, and the placemats feature a map of Ireland, which gives the average consumer just enough hope that the pint might not be half bad, but you're wrong again. You are served a pint of Guinness in an off-brand shaker pint, and about half the beer is foam. Defeated, you sadly sip at your Guinness as the patron next to you stares endlessly into their phone, swiping right every few seconds. You yearn for the authenticity of a true Irish pub and wonder what sort of magic differentiates a true pub from a bar like this. That's what you would expect to see a Guinness being tapped from. Real quick, I want to say hi to me and my deposed regime. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. We hope you have a wonderful weekend too, my friend. Always good to see you. So we're going back to ancient Rome. What is it they say? Do you think about ancient Rome every day? Some people do, some people don't. You hang around here and it's going to come up from time to time because history, like most things in the Western world, the roots of the pub can be traced back to the Romans. As the Roman Empire expanded into Celtic Europe, they built roads to make it easier for their armies and merchants and colonists to travel. On these roads, every 20 miles or so, there would be a, tabernae, or tavern. All cultures prior to the Romans had drinking establishments, but this is one of the most influenced modern pubs. These, the ones that most influenced modern pubs. These taverns were a lot like hostels, where one could get a square meal, a night's rest, and enjoy the company of others. Recently, archaeologists uncovered one of these taverns in Lattes, France, that dates back 2001 years. The discovery of the tavern included 2 large flatbread ovens, large serving platters, and the remains of fish, sheep, and cattle. But the most common object found in the taverns were wine cups. Roman travelers were established in mostly rural areas, but the economy diversified and as the economy diversified and farming became more specialized, there were a lot of people not growing their own food, so the need for a place where people could eat outside the home arose. This is appropriate considering France is where the modern concept of a restaurant first appeared. Taverns were initially intended, I don't want to go too far, intended for travelers, but if villages or cities sprung up around the tavern, locals would adopt them as a third place apart from home and work, where they could go to discuss politics, farming, business, and family life. When the Roman Empire reached the British Isles, they encountered a well-established ale-making culture already in place. Brewing ale was a domestic duty, and as such was done in the home, primarily by women. This heavily influenced the Roman tavern system, and women began to open up their own domestic dwellings as taverns for weary travelers, especially if their husbands were deceased and they needed a way to make a living. As the Roman Empire collapsed, the Roman influence retreated. These taverns evolved into alehouses. Alehouses quickly became a place for community gathering, socializing, and meeting the common folk. Some of the other taverns evolved into inns and hostels for travelers. Discussing the difference between alehouses, taverns, and inns is much like discussing the difference between porters and stouts. There seems to be a lot of crossover, and differences would not become obvious until much later when you have pubs, restaurants, and hotels. The Irish drinking culture. Having never been influenced by invading Romans, ancient Ireland independently developed their own tavern-like establishments. In Brehon law, the word Brehon refers to the law of ancient Gaelic culture of the 6th century. Chieftains were required to have their own brewego or brewer. These brewers not only brewed Irish ale, but also ran hostels that followed the strict laws of Gaelic hospitality. The Breudan, translated as hostel, had to be open 24 hours a day, have torchbearers so the travelers would always be greeted with a warm welcome, and have food and drink at the ready. Wow, and this was instituted by law. That's pretty impressive. These two tavern traditions must have impacted each other leading up to and during the Norman invasion of 1169. The Normans brought with them the alehouse tradition and their love of wine. Wine merchants called vintners would ship the wine to Norman castles and sell the surplus at taverns. To this day, there is a wine tavern street in Dublin, and vintners lend their name to pub trade associations like the Vintners Federation of Ireland and the Licensed Vintners Association. The old pub in Dublin, the Brazen Head, dates back just after the invasion of 1198. From these early taverns and alehouses evolved the public house in the 17th and 18th century, and later commonly referred to shorthand version of the name the pub. In 1760, there were 2,300 public houses in Dublin, a city which became famous for its public houses and their colorful names. Most people during that time period were illiterate, so pubs were identified by the bright symbols on their signs and would eventually become their names. Names like the Flying House, the Sot's Hole, Three Candlesticks, and the Blue Leg. The public house was designed as a place where the common man could enjoy the local community and get a drink. The poor classes, which made up the majority of the people in Dublin, couldn't afford the private clubs that the upper class frequented. Each pub would acquire their own regular clientele, who would affectionately call the pub their local. Pubs would have a reputation for attracting certain groups like tradesmen, poets, politicians, businessmen, and revolutionaries. That one's key to a certain revolution that happened on this side of the pond. Also during this time period were two other types of drinking establishments in Ireland, the spirit grocer and the shebeen. In 1791, the spirit grocer license was approved, which allowed grocers to obtain a license to sell ale and spirits for off-premise consumption. Regardless of the license, many grocers turned their stores into pubs when the authorities weren't looking, and unlike true public houses of the time, they allowed women to drink there. Spirit grocers were hated by publicans. A publican is the name for a public house owner and proprietor, and had more expensive license and had to adhere to more strict regulations. A shebeen was an illegal drinking house, usually found in a tenement building, and served ale, wine, and spirits at all hours of the night. These lower forms of drinking houses would eventually affect the evolution of the pub. In 1817, the grocers and publicans joined forces, thinking that their combined strength would better protect the political and legal interests. This created pubs with a small grocery business selling basic commodities. In 19 in the 19th century, the 19th century is when pubs began to look and feel like more like the Irish pubs we know and love today. They became the center for the community and social life, and they hosted wakes, weddings, christenings, and holiday celebrations. Publicans uh, represent were respected members of the community, and barmen worked as apprentices under them with the hopes that one day of owning their own pub. Brewmen were required to be medial. Is that a T? Let me look at it on the big screen. This script isn't very easy to read. Barmen were required to be mediators. That was a T. Okay. For debates, sports, and political commentators, confidants, and above all, hospitable. This is also the century that would see the rise of the snug, a small area or room separated by wooden dividers and stained glass. The snug provided extra privacy for matchmakers, the local priest, the occasional woman, and conversation of rebellion. In the latter part of the century, the classic Victorian aesthetic with high copper tiled ceilings, later mirrors, ornate carpets, chandeliers, and long polished bars became popular in Dublin pubs. Between 1845 and 1855, 1.5 million Irish immigrated to the United States due to the Great Hunger, with many more to follow in the coming decades. The United States already had an established pub and tavern industry that dated back to the very beginnings of the colonies. We talked about that here before, when public houses doubled as meeting halls and courthouses due to the complete lack of actual government infrastructure. Eventually, the Revolutionary War would be sparked in conversations held in Boston taverns. When Irish immigrants arrived in the United States, they were often told to go straight to the local Irish pub. Their fellow Irish immigrants would help them settle, find work, or locate family members. The Irish pub in the United States was just as much a center of community, and oftentimes it was a way to connect with the culture of Ireland and a lifetime back home. Irish immigrants opened pubs in Boston, Chicago, New York City, all over the United States, and eventually all over the world. Like everything in history, the evolution of the pub wasn't always pretty. Women were not allowed in Irish pubs for a very long time, with the exception of female street vendors that earned their spot in the bar. Eventually, lounges were put in the back of bars for couples, and finally, women were allowed in altogether. There were periods of time when pubs were known for their drunken debauchery. I like them already. Criminal elements, and working men spending all of their wages on drink. But a great modern pub that has withstood the test of time is a distillation of the great aspects of past pubs. This is in the voice of the author, Chris. So what makes a great pub? In my opinion, a great pub has a come as you are attitude with a culture of hospitality and a dedication to quality. It should be the center of a small community and attract many local characters, but be welcoming to newcomers. I don't care if it's a rustic country-style pub or a Victorian pub. It should be cozy and homey. Designed, oh gosh, my eyes. Designed for conversation with nooks and crannies and snugs. There should be very few TVs or none. And if there's food, it should be simple and well made. The staff should be attractive, knowledgeable, and entertaining. And above all else, they absolutely must pour a perfect pint of Guinness. I could not possibly agree more with all of those sentiments. I feel that this author basically summed up the entire idea behind Last Call. I want to focus a little bit on this should be the center of a small community and attract many local characters. They're talking about you there, but be welcoming to newcomers, right? Was it last week or the week before that was my birthday? It must have been 2 weeks ago now. My birthday. We had a very dear friend of mine was a guest on the channel, Michael French, and someone who is, I wouldn't say a regular, but has stopped by from time to time, came in and picked a fight with him. And I said the next day, I said I felt like Martini in It's a Wonderful Life. His name is a Welsh. He no come in here again. He hit my friend. Same thing here. You know, I'm going to throw out anybody that comes in, and I don't care if I've seen you before. You don't mistreat the other residents here. You can disagree, but never take a shot at them. You can buy them a shot, but don't take a shot at them. Let me get back to what all of y'all are saying. You guys have been chatting for a bit here. Going back to the Kraken in the movie Clash of the Titans, they said release the Kraken, which is wrong because the Kraken is a North Sea monster, and the Greek version was called Serpentine. I will take your word for that. I do not doubt you. But now that does kind of make me wonder how they associated the Kraken with the Serpentine. That's very interesting. Taverns, bars, alehouses, restaurants, type places have some documentation dating back way longer than 2,000 years. That's true. We were talking specifically about this style. The paperwork is on site to this date. Yeah. That's absolutely true. Especially if you get more into Italy, closer to Rome. But then you could also go, outside of that Western tradition and look to the East, look to Egypt. They've got a history too. I think we're trying to draw a linear history for the modern pub as we understand it, but I'm sure all of those things have had an influence over time. My state has several types of liquor licenses, including bars, cafe, and taverns. This designation must be in the premises name and on the sign. Yeah, and let me say something about licensure. I think that stands in direct opposition to what I consider to be the spirit of freedom in this country. Keeping in mind, I did have a great grandfather who used to distill gin in his bathtub during the Prohibition here in the Chicagoland area. Let's see. Ray Harryhausen was the reason they changed the monster. He thought the original name sounded like female genitalia, and she was already working on the Kraken monster for a movie that never got made. Okay, I see. Which is interesting because then when we finally get to so when you say Ray Harryhausen, because Ray Harryhausen did the work on the original Clash of the Titans, the one with Burgess Meredith and all those folks. And that Kraken didn't look anything like any kind of creature that I've seen in anything else, to be honest with you. It looked like a giant lizard man from the waist up. So I don't know. I'm going to have to look into that. That sounds very interesting. How that whole evolution might have happened. Wait, they didn't allow women, but you had to drink there? Yeah, you had to drink there and there weren't women there. Well, that was just it. There was this article probably didn't want to get too far down the rabbit hole, but there was all kinds of social mores about drinking and whether it was appropriate for women, whether it was even appropriate for men, whether it was appropriate for a Christian. So there's a lot of things that kind of play into that, and attitudes have changed about that over the centuries. Not sure if it is still available, but there was a pretty good documentary on Netflix about Irish pubs. I'll have to look into that. The internet's forever, so I'm sure it's out there somewhere. When I was in London, there were still bars that had the glass dividers in front of the bar to separate the classes. Interesting. The Grapevine Tavern gave rise to the phrase I heard it on the grapevine. Interesting. That makes sense. Led to a whole dance routine that I had to learn when I auditioned for a play. I'm a geeky geezer and I'll never grow up. That is absolutely true. Looking forward to hanging out with you, my friend, again tonight on Last Call. He is my designated driver. Of course, if I get drunk enough and I do need him to drive me home, he's driving me home on a John Deere tractor. But that's okay. It's what happens. That's what happens as long as I get home safely. The documentary is called, interestingly enough, The Irish Pub. That makes perfect sense. But yeah, that is, and I guess what I'd like to do is I'd like to solicit a little bit of feedback from you guys. I hope that you feel that these liquid lunches, Last Call on Friday, really do have that feel of welcoming community, especially for the regulars, but that newcomers also feel welcomed and invited, where we can talk about pop culture, politics, all of it, agree, disagree, and still find welcoming friendship. As soon as you start to make it personal, you might be shown the door, but just saying. But I see. So Big Al has just shared. Ray Harryhausen released the Kraken in 1938. You know what? I think as long as you've sent this to me, Al, I'm going to try to bring this up. Where is it? Here it is. I'll bring this up to here. And bear with me. Getting a lot of ding-dongs in my ear. Okay. And I guess I'm going to have to share my screen again. That's okay. I can do that. Share screen. Let's see here. Move my drink. Don't want to spill it. And there we go. So this one comes to us from Big Al, sharing about Ray Harryhausen released the Kraken in 1938. This is by David Ritter. Oh, and you'll notice right there, the very, very first Superman comic. That was the prototype done by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster back when the Superman was more Lex Luthor and less Kal-El. Interesting stuff. I've never actually read this, though. I'm sure that it's out there in electronic format. I'm going to have to look into it. But let's see. June 29th, 2020 marks the centennial of the birth of Ray Harryhausen, iconic pioneer of stop motion animation. Most science fiction fans are familiar with his filmography. Can I make this even larger? There we go. Make it readable. There we go. Now we're talking for my old eyes. As with many of the genre writers, artists, editors, and publishers who became prominent in the 1940s and 50s, Harryhausen's first involvement with science fiction was fostered by organized fandom in the 1930s. He connected with the active community in Los Angeles and became an early member of the local chapter of Hugo Gernsback's Sci-Fi League. In Harryhausen's own words, from a 1998 conversation with David A. Kyle, recorded and transcribed by John L. Coker, when I was young, my mother bought me a series of books called Wonder Books. They had wonderful illustrations and photographs of strange things, such as Egyptian temples, the charts on how long it would take to go to the moon and to Mars and all different planets. That started to stimulate my interest in science fiction. Yeah, you can actually find these books. They were very, very popular. You could find them in old secondhand and antique shops. And here's some of those illustrations that he was talking about. Then I saw Metropolis and Just Imagine and The Golem, all when I was very young. They had a real influence on me. We teethed on Frankenstein and Dracula, the Golem. Yep. I didn't know. I want to see your comments too. So I just realized my weren't showing. I didn't know much about stop motion at the time when I saw The Lost World. King Kong was the one that did it. It sent me spiraling out of Grauman's Chinese in a tailspin. I haven't. Shouldn't have done that. I'm over here. I haven't been the same since. The big gorilla was responsible for introducing me to Fay Wray, Willis O'Brien, and Forrest Ackerman. I owe a big debt to this gorilla, who was 50 feet high, sometimes 40 feet, sometimes 30 feet. He was a big inspiration to me. I was much more interested in the visuals than the science fiction literature, such as the cover of Imagination that Foray Ackerman used to publish. The magazine covers a cover for Wonderful Stories, and the artwork of Frank R. Paul were a stimulus. There you go. Uh-oh. That little flash there. I'm gonna get the channel struck for terms of service violation there. In the mid 1930s, when I was still in, I should probably. Oh yeah, so this is where the Kraken debuts. When I was still in high school, Foray told me about the little brown room in Clifton's cafeteria, where the Los Angeles chapter of the Science Fiction League would meet every Thursday. Members included Russ Hodgkins, Moro Joe, and, or it could be Moroho, and T. Bruce Yerke. Robert Heinlein used to come around, and a guy named Bradbury. We were a group who liked the unusual. There was a fellow named Walt Doherty, who was an anthropologist by trade and a photographer. He would make presentations about Egyptology. Another young fellow named Ray Bradbury would arrive wearing roller skates. After selling newspapers on the street corner, he would skate to meetings because he had no money. He used to go meet the stars at the Hollywood Theater, where they did weekly radio broadcasts. Ray was writing for Foray's magazine called Imagination. I did one of the covers for an issue, which was mimeographed, excuse me. You may be thinking, the Kraken, you say, but the Kraken didn't appear until Harryhausen's 1981 Clash of the Titans. We submit that the evolution of the Kraken occurred in clear steps, beginning with Harryhausen's 1938 cover for Imagination. Well, I kind of see that, yeah. For example, in October 42, Harryhausen rendered this cover for the Los Angeles Science Fiction Society's fanzine, Voice of the Imagination. Oh, there you go. Perhaps imprisoned by the creative gods, the Kraken railed at the bars of its watery cage for 15 years. But in Harryhausen's 1957 film, 20 Million Miles to Earth, this charming Kraken progenitor or spawn emerged. Oh, yeah, I see it. It does have that Kraken look to it, yeah. And again, in The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad from 1958, another Kraken ancestor or descendant. Yeah, I see it. The creature Harryhausen originally conjured from his imagination in 1938 evolved over the decades until, at the height of his power in 1981, the Ultimate Kraken was released. There you go. I definitely see it, yeah. How many times did Harryhausen see King Kong? Okay, talks about his time with King Kong, of course. Mask Maker, early art. Oh, yeah. You see again the influences that would become the Kraken. So there you go. That's the story of the Kraken. Thank you so much for that, Big Al, for bringing that up. Definitely contributes to the conversation. Let's see. Bartenders asking you, what's your poison, started right after Prohibition ended, and women with with pickets outside yelling, "You're poisoning our husbands." Show the bartender. The bartender will ask the first men to cross the protest line, "What's your poison?" That makes perfect sense. That makes absolute sense. I remember an episode of Grimm that featured a golem as the Vesson of the week. There you go. Anyway, that is the shtick for today. Wanted to talk about the history of the Irish pub. Let you know that I'll be drinking Kraken tonight, which means it's going to be a wild one tonight because it goes down so smoothly that I end up with a great deal of it in my gullet before I even realize it. And even after I'm drunk and I stop, I continue to get drunk as I absorb more alcohol. So it could be a very fun time. It could be a very interesting time. Let's put it that way. Speaking of interesting, if you are interested in AI, large language, generative AI, as it's variously called, we have a bunch of articles we're going to be talking about tonight, and it's going to be a very Sophia heavy episode tonight. Didn't play the promos tonight, but if you are missing your Sophia fix, make sure you tune in tonight, especially tonight, because she's got some special words for all of you, and she is going to address a little bit of a scandal. Apparently there's it's come to my attention that there's something of a candid photo of her that's been circulating on the internet, and she wants to get ahead of it by sharing it on camera. She's going to share what she looks like disrobed. So I'm probably going to get demonetized, but that's okay because she needs to be able to express herself freely. So if you want to see what Sophia looks like in a more shall we say uninhibited way, see all of her, so to speak, make sure you tune in tonight for last call. May you drink in interesting times. Well, whatever I do right now, it is interesting times. And given a choice, I will be drinking. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Booger. And thank you all for hanging out with me. Don't go anywhere, because we're going to continue the party over at Wilkie's Movies and Music. Let's get over there and say hi to Corey. And of course, tune in tonight for last call. There is no, I don't believe there's any Films with Friends tonight, because tomorrow night we will be taking up with another Kraken, more human-sized Kraken, with the Shape of Water on Big L Presents. And that's it. So let's get over to Corey's. And until next time, you guys all take care of yourselves. Stay healthy. Get healthy if you're not currently healthy. Stay hydrated. Drink responsibly, like I sometimes do. And we'll see you on the next one. Take care, everyone.
Goodbye. Hope to see you again real soon.
So here's to the daylight, the drinks and the fun, our liquid lunch, till the next one comes. With a wink and a smile, we'll be back real soon, chasing that jazz under the high noon.